Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. So, joining me this week, it's my own little Plaguefly writer. It's Tom. How you doing, Tom?
Hello, friends.
Also joining us this week, very happy to finally have him on the show. On a most fortuitous day, it's Alex Nygard of Fjordhammer podcast fame, of BattleTome End Times fame, which is what we're here to talk about today. Alex, how you doing, buddy?
Hey guys, it's great to be on the show finally, and perfect timing.
Absolutely, couldn't be better. It's as though we planned this the whole time.
Yeah, it's been in my notebook for the last year.
That's our story. We're sticking to it. So obviously this is a big day, the culmination of a lot of work, which we're excited to talk about and share with you today. Our own Tom may have some models in this wonderful book, but so do many other contributors. We're going to let Alex tell us all about this awesome project when we get into it during our feature segment today. I know I'm super excited because unlike many, I'm not one of those people who hated or had any problem with the End Times. I loved the End Times, thought it was amazing, and I can't wait to play through every single battle plan. We're going to talk about that.
It's true.
I'm doing it.
So I would be impressed.
so the irony here, we'll talk about this. The irony is that Vince and I have already talked about this. Like a year ago, we had actually talked about this. So it's fantastic.
Like we were talking about how we would set up this campaign. So I'm all of this is coming. It's very exciting stuff. Like we're totally on board for this. So
there's really no excuse now.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. The excuses have to end. So let's start with the news, though, because we've got some today. It's already. Can you feel it? Can you feel the buzz already starting? You see what I did there, Tom? That's going to tie into something.
Elves. Show us elves, Vince.
Sure. I'm going to show you this Eldar thing because it's
elves.
Eldar. It's not elves. Sorry. Here we go. I had the wrong thing up.
Look, that's elves.
This is the rumor engine.
100%.
Hey, I have painted a ton of elves, and I know those gemstones. That's the setting of elf gemstones.
Let the Eldar have something.
Exactly.
Elves are on the way out.
Maybe space elves, but it's elves. Okay. Yeah, Eldar. Cool.
Yeah, I what I'll say is more specifically, I'm actually hoping that this is not an Eldar model. I'm given the weird sort of nature of how this looks so smooth, I'm actually hoping it's Eldar terrain. And I think this could be
they Photoshop the top quarter or top third out, or
yeah, like there's more behind
that clean
here.
edge.
Yeah. Exactly. Like this is too clean, right? So I think there's more terrain behind this. And I actually think this kind of Eldar terrain could be like terrain pieces like this could actually be used really cool for some new like elf stuff in AOS, depending on how exactly it looks or whatever. In the same way that you repurposed the what is it? The Adeptus,
the Adeptus mechanic, or the Sector Mechanicus.
There you go. The Sector Mechanicus stuff for your KO, yeah. Like I think you could pull that off because, as you mentioned, like the gems aren't that dissimilar. If it's just like smooth, sort of Eldar bone, whatever that's called, like Wraith bone, like there's nothing innately. It's more magic than tech, anyways, right? So,
yep.
Yeah.
That'll have to wait to see until we see what the new elves look like. If I'm correct, there's nothing at all like the high or dark elves. So.
I think you're right.
Is going straight out.
The question is which elf release?
That's true. We could be looking at multiple. I mean, I agree with you. There is at least one elf release, Alex. I agree that is coming that looks just nothing.
Yes,
like our current elves.
Tentacles everywhere.
One can hope.
Absolutely. I want to see a bold new direction. I want to see weird Cthulhuoid elves.
So next, this is the terrible pun that Vince alluded to. Vince, will you pull up your photo?
I will pull up my photo. And that was not a terrible pun. That was punning on a high level.
What all the buzz is about? No. No. No.
That is solid punning. That is at least B+ level punning. All right, so
That's
boom.
right, folks. You have a Nurgling riding a baby plague drone.
That is, and that is 100% a new model, which means new release.
Yep.
Which means Nergal probably isn't far around the corner. Finally.
Finally.
It's true. It's true. They're clearly inspired by my Plague Furies, my Nergal Furies that I did last year around this time. And they have sculpted for us this delightful. I mean, look how cute this guy is. Seriously. He's amazing.
Even I will say, and you know how I feel about Nergal, he's pretty adorable. Alex, you mentioned beforehand something that I thought was like really accurate. Do you want to repeat? Because like obviously this guy's tiny, but he's on a big base. I think that base choice isn't accidental, right? Like this is the real base.
Yeah, I think we've seen this exact sort of thing before. New model, context that we don't actually know anything about. They done the same thing with the Gyrinx last year, which was obviously a tease for the new Eldar models. So I'm thinking this is exactly what it is. It's just a tease. They know it. We know it. They know that we know it. Well, they're not, announcing anything yet. So I think they've learned how to tease us correctly because everyone who's been speculating, Nergal's probably not showing up. Nergal's definitely showing up.
Nergal is definitely, yes, and this is clearly a plague beast. Like this is the Nergal, the beast of Nergal. That's what's on this base.
You think that's what it is?
Yeah. It's the plastic beasts. That's what this is. Somebody showed a screen cap of like in the leaked image from that painting video that we had not too long ago. In like the shadow corner, it looked like this guy might have been there. Like you could see a little bit of an outline of something on the base. And that's probably what this is.
So if you want Nergal Furies, is this guy now your new go-to model for Nergal Furies? Do you get a bunch of these guys and do these?
Yeah, you just do it. You do like a cab unit of Nergal Furies like this.
Yep.
Yeah, like that's the right move.
Bits model.
Absolutely. Oh my God, yes.
He's just so like he's so adorable. He is so adorable. GW, stop this. Stop it. Okay? I don't want to start buying more boxes of Nergal stuff.
Yes, you do. Don't lie.
I'm going to.
Of course you want to keep buying more of it.
I mean, I do, but I have KO and Fire Slayers, and I can't go back.
You need more backlog, man.
I clearly need more backlog. That is certainly true. Well, this is coming, folks, and it's fantastic.
This was a great spoiler. We should mention that this was the 300th tip of the day. Like that's what the occasion was, ostensibly, for them to share this, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great milestone as well.
Yeah.
Like, can we shout out how great tip of the day is?
Absolutely.
Probably the best single source for low to mid painting tips. Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
No, it's not a bad way to say it. I believe I totally agree with that. The number of beginners, it is an incredibly daunting task. I've said this a million times. When you first come into this hobby, to even know how to work with paints and to apply it to the models. That sounds stupid. It's not. I talk to so many new players who it's like a massive challenge. And that tip of the day gives you these quick 2-3 minute tutorials. It's like, here to do a simple thing. He makes it look not scary at all. Duncan's a great teacher. And he gets people to lose the fear and start painting their models. Yeah, that's awesome. Right. And the fact that they do so many of them off of user requests, right?
Yeah.
Like these aren't just things that they pick out of the air.
User requests. No, it's true.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah, I recommend these to every new player that I ever talk to, like in the club, on the forums I moderate, like anywhere. It's like, oh, you're new to the hobby? Check out Warhammer TV's painting guides because they know how to break down a model and to make it so that in 3 or 4 steps maybe you get something that looks great.
Right.
And I remember back in the day when I was painting from 3 or 4 steps on the back of the box, and it was pretty clear that the 5 paints they were showing weren't all of them. They might have used more than 4 steps to get from base coats to Golden Demon.
Right. Yep. and the reality is, one of the most critical things for especially a newer or sort of like in that beginning track of being a painter to accomplish is to not be incredibly frustrated, right? Because if you paint something and you're actually pretty happy with it, you will keep painting. If you paint something and you feel like it looks like crap and you're not able to achieve anything like what you want, you will stop painting. It's really that easy, right?
Yeah.
And that can be a hobby breaker.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. Totally on board. All right, what else we got?
So malign portents.
Yeah,
As if Nurglings weren't enough, we have undead boats and statues of Sigmar. Statues of Sigmar that are flickering as skeletons in the lightning.
I just hope this is actually a death faction release, and we get something more than just the new Herald model. I've been waiting a long time. They took away my Tomb Kings, and they didn't give me anything new.
Oh, I'm very aware. I am very aware. Yeah, it won't be Tomb Kings, but we are definitely we are definitely going to get a new release, a new army. Like, there's no question in my mind. The question is how many new armies?
Sure.
I suspect we'll probably get two. Two. Like, did I call this on the show, or is this in our conversation, Vince?
You mentioned this on the show as well, but feel free to mention it again. It's okay.
I think we'll have
two with Stormcast or two without Stormcast.
Probably two with Stormcast in the first half of the year, and I think we'll have one near the tail end, like on the back leg of the year. Probably maybe even after the event. Like, I think we'll have 2 to 3 BattleTomes that are going to drop that are death specific. And I think like one will be probably Death Rattle, one will be something new. Like, one will be either Death Rattle or it'll be Death Lords. You know, this combined like a mega battalion, kind of like the God battalions. Like, I could see them doing like a Death Lords BattleTome that has as like the Mortarch. So think about how Tzeentch is organized, or the Khorne is organized, where you have like mortal, Arcanite, and demon.
Yeah, your goal here would be like Nagash, Neferata, and
organization
Archaon
under
and
each of the like the Mortarchs. Yes.
Yep.
So alignments under each of the Mortarchs. I could see something like that. If they didn't want to go full Death Rattle, like, so if they didn't want to do dedicated Death Rattle, I could see them doing something like that, and then have like Death Rattle as slotted underneath. What's his face? As Archaon. And you could do like a Lamnia, subcategory under Neferata and whatever. And you could bring out, by the way, echoes of Tomb King aesthetics in there as well, if they really wanted to.
I doubt we're going to see it that way, just because they haven't built the Mortarchs in the same specific domination that they have built the gods. Like, the gods haven't done
anything. They haven't done anything in depth. Let's be very clear about it.
They've done a few things, and everything we've seen from the Mortarch so far shows that they mix chaos to the best of their benefit. Yeah. Like, the Mortarch control everything. So I think if we're going to see something, it's going to be a specific faction. Death Rattle seems the most likely, just because they're the most complete range, they're plastic, and they didn't get an allegiance ability, despite the obvious choice in the General's Handbook.
And having a Shadespire group, group, whereas everybody else who has a Shadespire group has their own faction and so on.
Yeah. So I think that one's obvious. I think we're probably going to get that Nergal BattleTome.
Yep.
If we get more Nergal models, we'll probably just build a BattleTome for it. And we're going to get a new Stormcast, because it won't be a year without Stormcast or Space Marine releases.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Now, I would push back and say that I think those are our Deathcast. I don't think those are true Stormcast. I think that they're going to be corrupted Stormcast.
I don't believe in the existence of Deathcasts.
Not yet. Not yet. They're coming. By the way, there was an allusion, I believe, in one of the short stories recently to the somebody had said this. I haven't actually listened to it yet, but to the actual flaw in the reforging, and Shade Glass being something tied to that.
The thing is, Sigmar knows that the reforging process is flawed, So
Yes.
he wants Shade Glass because
Oh,
it
that's
can
what it is.
perfectly capture souls, which he can't. So he sent out the Stormcast to sort of get Shade Glass, and then they get into trouble because Shadespire is not a place you want to be.
Sure.
There's like a bunch of audio stories for this Advent. Seriously, listen to them. They are great setting pieces, great little character pieces. They're not very long, but they are very, very good. I highly recommend them.
Nice. Yeah, that's sort of an interesting like hook that was sitting out there in the world that I hadn't considered previously, right? The knowing that like Shade Glass was a perfect capture for souls, right? It allowed the former people to be perfectly immortal, and that's what originally drew the wrath of Nagash, right?
Yeah.
Because they had sort of eliminated death. Yeah, that's fascinating. That's cool. That's super cool. Yeah, I mean, I agree with both. Are we taking the third day image? So the third day image, which was of the statue of Sigmar.
Yep.
That's who that was. Lightning flashes, it becomes sort of a death-looking statue, right? A lot of people talked about how it looking like Mor. I think that's, who cares? Like, yeah, that's happenstance. Because like Mor is long since dead. Nagash ate him. That's over now. That guy is gone for a long time.
Don't bring world gods into this.
Right. Let them go. As the blind smith, I don't remember his name, but the elvish smith who was blind.
Vol?
Yes.
He explained the nature of the cycle of the gods in the middle of the end time story. Like in Cain, still my favorite book of the end times, since we're talking a little bit about end times.
The exposition, yes. He had like a window of dialogue.
Like he explains that like this cycle of gods of like the heroes of, he was part of a group in the previous realm that had been heroes who had become gods now in this world, right? He talks about how these, most of the gods that they knew were just heroes from the previous realm who had lived on, and that like he gave the all of this has happened before, all of this will happen again speech to I think he was talking to like Teclis or somebody at that point in time. I don't remember who, but he basically was saying like, was his name Daith or something? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, Dave took over as Vol's like avatar / body double.
Yes. Yeah, that sounds right. So he was basically saying like, before we were heroes, now we're the gods. And, next time around, your heroes will be the gods, those who survive this. And so like, and that obviously has come to pass, right? With the ascension of like Tyrion and Teclis and Alariel and these kinds of people.
Nagash and Sigmar and
Sure. So, needless to say, I let those old gods die. They're gone. But anyways, are we taking this as either one, proof of Deathcast, or two, is it simply a thematic hook to say, look, the story was about Sigmar, now it's about death as the darkness sets? Because it could be either. What's your take, Alex? Theme or on the nose?
I think it's more thematic. I think it's shifting the setting from good guys doing good and largely succeeding to dead guys doing dead stuff and probably failing a lot, but more focus on them. I don't think Deathcasts Eternals are going to be a thing yet. I think the conflict is going to be fueled by Nagash really hating that Sigmar is stealing his souls.
Right.
But I don't think his answer is going to forge his own soul warriors.
No, he's going to grab them and take control of them. There's going to be a reforged legion that Nagash will become Nagash's. I'm calling it now.
I don't think that's going to happen, and I don't really like that idea. I think it's like it's on the surface it's like a cool idea, but I think thematically it's more difficult for the setting. Maybe in a few years when the setting is more developed, when the relationship between death and life and Nagash and everyone else is more established, we can see these sort of things. But right now, it would set up Nagash as just like, wouldn't set him up as his own thing. It would just set him up as he's evil because he's the anti-Sigmar, but also not chaos. And I think they're doing more with the setting than just that. but that's me being hopeful.
Sure. I will say time will tell on this one. I mean, like, it wouldn't. Here's what I'll say. Either way wouldn't surprise me. And honestly, I don't really care. That's the honest to God truth of it. Like,
Sure.
I couldn't care less. Do it or don't. Pull that trigger or don't. Whatever.
We just want more death models.
All I want is that boat. I forget day 3 spoiler. Day 2. Let's talk about that death boat that pulls into port. Flying undead boat. Let's get that going. That's what I'm looking for.
Gonna be a new battle table.
Yeah.
We have a Mortis engine, right?
That's not good enough. Like, that isn't.
That's a
not
floating graveyard.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Sorry.
That's not a boat. It's like, seriously, there's nothing boat-ish about it. It's a bunch of spectral riders carrying a staircase and like a I don't even know, a reliquary, basically, is the best word I could say.
Yeah.
There's nothing boat-ish about that thing. I want a boat, like a boat. A boat, like a boat. What boats look like with sails and a hull and stuff, boats.
But like a dinghy or a super tanker or,
anything. I'll take anything above dinghy. Yeah, anything above dinghy is fine. If you want to give me like the super death battleship, like if it's the size of the G.I. Joe battleship from the 90s, right? Or the 80s or whatever, that's like, if it's like the G.I. Joe battleship, like that's just 6 feet long, I'm okay with that.
That was the aircraft carrier. And hold on, wait for it. Back of that exact aircraft carrier right there.
Well, there you go.
Sorry.
Now you made us all like rotating.
So, how to respond to that? Surprise.
Yes.
Yes. So you're saying you want a 6-foot table?
That's also
that is a ship.
I'm saying I wouldn't hate it.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Yes. Like in that case, it would be. It'd be like the big realm of battle board that is the deck of a massive undead ship. Like, that would be sweet. Sure. I'd take that.
Place on it and then they fall down beneath deck and you're like,
yeah.
Out.
That would be sweet. That would be sweet. But I'd also just take a giant boat model too. But I'll take either.
You know they make those. They're called ironclads.
They don't, because that's a stupid stunty ship. It doesn't count. I want something. I want something that's not that. Let me just say that.
A dinghy.
Fair enough.
Something that's not at all metal. Like I like the aesthetic of the ironclad and the frigate. Sure, I really do. But I would love to see a more traditional dead fleet type of thing.
That's fair. And like obviously we have it alluded to in the Firestorm thing. Right. Like that's what the Death Allegiance is. Yep. It's a bunch of skeletal pirates.
Yep.
So like we're not reaching far here. Like this is not that's not a difficult thing. So yeah, okay. I can get behind that.
All right, cool.
Where are we going with this? So
no one ever knows.
We have a Lord Celestin dropping next week.
Yeah.
And his War Scroll just was made available. We have another named character, which is kind of awesome.
I would have preferred that they dropped him, with some sort of story context. Like,
yes.
You're not a special character if you don't have a special story. So what's the point? Why couldn't he have been a generic Lord Celestin on foot with sword and shield? Like,
because they didn't want to give his command ability they didn't want him to be able to have command traits and items.
I highly doubt that's the concern.
Well, here's the deal. He has one of the best command traits possible for Stormcast. And the reason why I say that is because he gives everybody within his bubble plus 3 inches on a charge.
Yeah.
Which means that all Stormcast deep strikes go from 9-inch charges to 6-inch charges.
Yes, that's true, but you still have to have it set up correctly, right? Like he couldn't be in the heavenly realm when he'd have to be down before that.
Right, but he could be lightning charioted to anywhere on the board, or
True.
he could be Vex Lord to anywhere on the board. Like so when those other folks do show up, yeah. Anyways, well, I guess maybe not because you have to roll for that in the movement phase whether they show up, not the hero. So you need to know ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, what you need to do is have him down. You know where you were going to hopefully have your stuff come down.
Yeah.
Right? Then you need to lightning chariot him over to be within 9 inches of where you're going to put people. And then you'd need to bring them down, right? And then...
Or be able to reach a tail back to his bubble.
Yeah, to be they'd have to, because they have to be within 9 inches of him at the start of the charge phase. That's because that's when he kicks on the ability, and then it's a bubble that follows him around wherever he at the rest of the turn.
Yeah.
So like, and then those people, as long as they had a tail into his 9-inch, could then zip out that extra end.
It's an amazingly good ability for Stormcast who are going to be having to be forced to make 9-inch charges regularly. That's what I would say.
Yeah, but the question is, does Games Workshop base their design decisions around high-level competitive play or around something completely different? I'm guessing that someone high in the system said Stormcast needed a new special character. They sculpted in, they didn't have any to put him in, so they just dropped the model. And they gave him some cool abilities because Games Workshop loves giving their heroes cool abilities because that's what heroes are for. I don't think they made him a special character to avoid him having the ability to have command traits. I think that's taking more concern for the meta than Games Workshop does with their releases.
No, maybe. I don't want to throw Ben Johnson under the bus and say that he's not thinking about that as they're designing rule sets for releases. I think that there is some attentiveness to the meta. Now, what I would say is I think that somebody did an awesome sculpt, and they're going to be like, how do we release this? And how do we release this without having to change the original Lord Celestant War Scroll? Because we have a Lord Celestant here, but we don't want to have to add the generic sword shield option.
Well, so two ways they could have gone about that. Like, for one, they could have just updated the War Scroll. They did that with the Lord Celestant Dracoth when they released the Dracoth models. So you went from not having the ability to have shields and all the bunch of weapons to now having that option. So there's a bunch of guys running around without shields, but having them because the War Scroll was updated.
Yep.
So that's not an issue. Or they could release a different War Scroll about the same model with a different loadout, like they have done with the Slaughter Priest.
But Ben did say
is the same thing, different War Scroll.
Yeah. I will say, though, that on the stream recently, Ben did say that they're going to try to the best of their ability to not do things that will change War Scrolls in the future. And so this was in the last 3 to 4 months, post Thunderer, ship or train wreck situation. And so I suspect that moving forward, they're going to try to be less to affect their releases as little as possible with those types of things. It seems like they're wanting to move away from that, is what I would say.
Yeah,
they did it. Yeah,
I'm not saying that Games Workshop doesn't think about the meta. Like, Ben Johnson's obviously a good player and he does care about this, but I don't think they made him a special character because of that. I think if they felt this character's command ability is way too good, they would have gone, let's make that a bit less good rather than going, let's make him a special character. I think that's like making the command ability, maybe it only affects 1 unit or D3 units. That would be a more elegant solution than making this guy a special character that now everyone who's painted Hallowed Knights or their own chamber is sort of looking at and going, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
So I think they've seen that people want special characters, but they haven't. But for me, they aren't special if you don't have a cool story. Like the story has to make them special, and then you can make them special characters.
Like Nave in Blight War. Like it's very clear what she's doing and what her mission is and all that. But I agree that this is a curious release for how they went about this.
It's such a random one-off. Like my argument would ultimately be, I agree completely with what you're saying, Alex. Although I think sometimes it's okay to start with this side and then come back around the other way and explain him later. Like if he shows up in a bunch of stories or reasons or something later, like it's okay to start with the model. I'm fine with that too, right? As long as they actually make him real. Because if it's just like, here you go, we release a dude, his name is Schmoopy, Scroopy Noopers, the special character Chaos Lord comes out, and then we never talk about him again, but he has special rules, and I can't give artifacts to old Scroopy Noopers, the Chaos Lord. And I'm like, okay, I don't care about Scroopy Noopers because I never was given a reason to care about Scroopy Noopers, right? Like, and so I think that, like, in that regard, I totally agree with you. Like, we have to, the narrative is what makes us care about these people, right?
Yeah, so I think just to bring out another example, they've also for 40k brought out 2 special Space Marine lieutenants, one for Dark Angels and one for Blood Angels, I believe, that are also named characters, but they also can be used as generic lieutenants.
Right.
So the box is like a named, Space Marine McSpace dude who is a special character. But you can also use them as generic Dark Angel or Blood Angel lieutenants, which I think would have been a much cooler way. Like, here's Gavriel Sherhart, or whatever his name is, but he can also be a Lord Celestin in whatever chamber you want. Like, if they've just gone that, release 2 War Scrolls in the box, one for Gavriel and then one for regular Lord Celestins. And Gavriel can have a better one, the way they've done with Vandus now.
Right.
Yep.
I think that would have been something that would have, hit all the marks, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And it's the difference between another third of a sheet of paper, right? I mean, that's all we're talking about here. Like, it's not a huge amount of extra stuff you're adding in here, right? Because we're not saying a different sculpt or anything like that. It's literally just an extra third of the piece of paper.
Yeah, and everyone with the same luscious locks of hair.
Sure, he does look very Tommy Wiseau. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. Ultimately, it's funny that I look back and, like, some time ago we were sitting around going, are special characters dead? Are there no more special characters? Now they're just coming out of the woodwork, and we can't stop them showing up. We've got the new Nergal guy and Knave and this guy, and there's going to be all the people there should be named people coming out. They've been coming out everywhere. We got the Vandus and the Korgus Cole scrolls and all that. So, but they listened.
They did.
Yeah, we're also getting a ton of new books, so they've listened to that.
There you go.
Yep, it's true. They are being responsive.
Yep, which is a lot better than we could have said, 3 years ago when a later topic shows up.
Absolutely.
Indeed. And speaking of them being responsive, we have the Rise of the Tomb Kings in Total War. For those of you that have not seen it, it is amazing. I just pulled, like, on my painting project, like, I reprioritized my stuff and pulled all my TK stuff off my shelf, and I was like, I'll get to painting these later. Like, I want to, but I'm, I have a number of different other projects, and so I pulled them off and boxed them all up, and then this trailer dropped, and I'm like, maybe I need to reorganize my my painting queue. Yes, I see a Sepulchral Stalker box back there.
Yep, I've got 2 of those boxes, and in that Mario box, I've got a giant. I got 50 Tomb Guard and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm like, maybe it's time to complete the Tomb King collection. But
yep.
Can I just ask one question about that Total War trailer? In what universe ever were Hyrule Titans that effective on the battlefield? I played a lot of Higher Titans, going back many, like until from the point where they were created in the sort of that battle and that tome where they came out. And they didn't have a model or whatever, but I had kit bashed my own right away. And I don't remember them ever walking forward and just being like, Superman laser eyes, kill units. Like, that is not the world I lived in.
But it's the world I want to live in.
Absolutely.
Oh.
That was like some Dr. Manhattan and Watchmen stuff. Like, that was the same scene from Dr. Manhattan and Watchmen, what he does, right? Like, it was like the same shot in the way that it happened. He just explodes those dudes. Just like, oh, they're all dead. Yeah.
If there's one thing Warhammer doesn't have enough of, it's eye beams. Like, where are the laser eye beams from? Like, anyway.
Shem's Fiery Gaze, which is in is that the Luminarch?
If that's not from the eyes of the guy operating the Luminarch.
No. The wizard, his spell.
Like, if he put on giant glasses so that his eye lasers were more dangerous, that would be amazing. Well, that's not what it is.
Sure.
That would be Age of Sigmar. Like, his ability to shoot eye lasers. How do we make that better? I make 10 set of lenses. Like, yeah. Now I wish that was the actual story behind the Luminarch.
Sure. Yes, Burning Gaze, by the way, is the Luminarch spell for the white battle mage on top. And that is to be different than the searing shooting out from the compound lenses. So I'm in. I have not bought this yet, and I like Total War 2, and now it has like High Elves, Dark Elves, Skaven, Lizard, and now Tomb Kings, and I was like, this is like a best hits for me. Like, it's pounding on all cylinders. Yeah, I'm probably gonna end up picking that up.
Yeah, I've got Total War Warhammer 1. And if you have both of them, you can play like the combined map with both like Ulthuan and Lustria and Nygard and the Southlands and the Old World. And it's like, how have I not bought this yet? But then I sort of look at my painting backlog and this book and everything. And I'm like, oh, yeah, there is a reason. But it's really, really hard to not buy that and just conquer the world, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I still have no interest in the game. Sorry, like, I got models to paint. It takes priority. But I get it. I get it. If this made you look at this game and go, I need to pick this up, I'd be like, yeah, I understand. This is the excuse. This is the excuse you've been looking for. I think of all the lost hours of painting that this is going to happen. How many hundreds of thousands of hours in the aggregate of not painting is this game caused? It's shocking going to cause. It's shocking.
Yep. Yeah, I may not get those armies done for Adepticon. That's a possibility.
I think the worst part of this is probably going to be that these Tomb Kings are probably going to be the best version of Warhammer Fantasy Battle Tomb Kings we're ever going to see on the battlefield.
That's probably accurate.
The skeleton archers will just be mowing people down when they fire arrows and stuff. Yeah, the chariots will just be ramming right through whole units. Sure. Absolutely. All the things that never actually happened on the table.
Things you were dreaming of when you're painting your 40th skeleton archer.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm going to darken the skies with all these arrows that don't suffer penalties. It'll be amazing.
That's fantastic.
5s to hit, probably 5s to wound. Yes.
Related, I want to briefly mention an Indiegogo as our final news item. The TMS is doing a death terrain set for their Indiegogo. Let me pull this up for us. And I've been chewing on doing a full graveyard death table, and this is just the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. They have like monuments and coffin sets and fences and barrows,
The barrows look great, as do the little
do.
graveyard pieces. Like
Yep, the little graveyard, the composite graveyard pieces, and mausoleums, and showing that they already have a bunch of stuff cast and ready to ship.
Yep.
So, yeah, yep. I'm thinking long and hard about this one.
Yeah, that's really nice looking, like generic graveyard set.
Yep. Absolutely. Like it couldn't be better time too, because we know we're on the precipice of malign portents. So if you're looking for some death related terrain, like this, the thing about TMS is they have a history of delivering, right? So in their stuff, and this is on Indiegogo, they will deliver this regardless of whether it funds, but obviously you're going to get in on this stuff a lot cheaper. Like look at the mega set at $80 and what you get, right? Like, I mean, it's just a ridiculously good deal
at 80. And that's the painted one at 180. Nope.
Yeah, you don't need the painted one. That's what I'm saying. Like $80 gives you the blank mega, the unpainted mega set, and it's fantastic.
Yep. And what is this? What is this dragon back here?
That's what I have coming very soon.
Oh, do you have that one coming?
Yeah.
Nice. My problem with all of these things is I look at them and then it's like, how much would that cost to import to Norway? And it's like, well, it's around like 50% of the price for shipping, and then import taxes. Like suddenly not so cheap anymore.
Indeed.
Like you guys need to ship cheaper to Norway. Like that's the biggest problem America has right now.
No. Well, that stuff is coming out of it.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Coming out of the EU.
Yeah, that is coming out of the EU. But I want to contest the thought that is our biggest problem right now.
We're not going to get into anything like that. But anyways, TMS is out of the EU, so I don't know if that'll impact your shipping costs at all or not. It might be. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't.
Some countries are terrible. Like why?
Sure.
Like I guess we have the money so they can pay, but.
Well, look, let's all just take a moment to celebrate the fact that we're not Australia or New Zealand if we want to talk about crazy costs and shipping. So, sorry to those two countries, because I look at their prices and their shipping costs and I'm like, oh, geez, that's what you get for living on the bottom of the world. So I don't know what to tell you. That's unfortunate. There you go.
That's fantastic.
That's how the world works, right there on the bottom. That's how it is.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Sure.
Natural basement dwellers.
All right.
That's the news.
There you go. All right, fantastic. So obviously lots of big stuff. Like we can tell we're on the it's so funny because we really are on the horizon of so many big things that we're getting these tiny little drips. Like I can just see it in the next week or two that we're going to have these like massive spoilers shoot out of Nergal and death and everything else. So very exciting. I suspect we're going to get a good post-Christmas round of surprises. But let's turn to some pick of the week. So I think you might have something you want to share there, Alex, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, unsurprisingly, my pick of the week is going to be something that I've published myself. I recently, as in 2.5 hours ago, dropped BattleTome The End Times on the world. And I can't really say anything other than you guys should really check it out. It's 150 pages of Age of Sigmar narrative content, featuring pictures from everywhere. 49 battle plans, times war, campaigns. So, like, if you're interested in playing Age of Sigmar in any way other than in tournaments, this is going to be a year's worth of content for you or more. So really check it out.
It's awesome. We're gonna deep dive into it here very soon because we're gonna talk to Alex. We're gonna learn all about the battle plans, everything that's in there, what led him to go along this journey, all that sort of stuff. The link to the download as well as the YouTube video, which is great. You've put together an awesome video, by the by. That was fantastic. Will be down below in the show notes afterwards. So once this gets uploaded, you can check that out. Tommy, what do you got, buddy?
I want to promote. Man, have you guys watched the painting with the community videos on Twitch yet? You guys follow that at all?
Their actual, like, when they sit down and they paint, like, their paint-episodes?
Yeah, they're paint
They're being Warhammer.
Yeah, like they just did another one yesterday that I finally got to catch live, and they are like they're so enjoyable, because they're interesting. Like the lighting is better, you know. I can think about like our paint episodes, which are just like train wrecks comparatively. You know,
Sure.
But so like they are like sharing the models that they're doing, and they're engaged with the audience. Like there's like people are sending in photos on Twitter and stuff like that, and then they're like commenting on people's photos real time as that's going on, and it's just it is an enjoyable exercise of the community, is what I would say. And so they are worth watching if you can catch them live. I don't know if they would be as enjoyable if you weren't watching and interacting with them live. But anyways, check it out, is what I would say.
Because they're interacting with the Twitch commentors, correct?
Yeah, so not only the commentary that's happening on the side, but if you tweet at them as it's going on, they're also checking Twitter. And so for like images and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, and so a bunch of people sent in photos yesterday, and they were commenting like such and such is during the show, such and such is working on like Chuck, for example, tweeted at shows, and they're like, "Oh, Chuck's working on Death Hags," and they're like, "Oh, look at those Death Hags, they're awesome," and just provide some comments like real time as they were going through. So it's just a neat kind of engagement with the audience and stuff like that.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yeah. So it's a fun little thing that they've started, and I think they need to do more of it because they do it well.
I'm sure we'll see plenty more as time goes on, for sure. Yeah. So my pick of the week is the Warhammer YouTuber End of Year Awards 2017. Vote, go vote, 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 vote. I tried to actually post the little link for this in the like comment chat talk over here on the side. It doesn't work. It won't let me try it because it won't let me do it because it doesn't let you share links in YouTube comments, even for me, the owner of the thing, because apparently it's where, which makes sense, I guess, that they would just blanket ban those. But don't worry, I'll have the link to vote down in the show notes. Go and vote. As I said, I want to see this be the biggest year of voting ever. And if you were nominated, I'll put the link to both the voting and to the nomination show, so you can see the full list of nominees as well as links to all of their channels. But if you are one of the nominees, I would also encourage you to make your begging videos. And what I mean by that is make your self-promotion video. Make your video saying
that's not what you just said. You didn't say promotion. You didn't say promotion. You said begging videos.
Go beg for votes. That's what you're doing. Okay. I want to see them. I want to see funny, awesome, creative people self-promoting parentheses begging for votes. I love it. Feel no shame in that. Do it. Okay. It's awesome. It's always the best part. So there you go.
So on the topic of shame, I was trying to share the link in the little chat, but apparently I'm not allowed to share links to BattleTome the End Times.
Exactly. We can't post links in the chat. I apologize. Apparently that's not a thing YouTube allows. Don't worry. I will make sure the link to the End Times BattleTome and to the voting and to everything is down below in the show notes. So you'll be able to go into the description and grab it. I'm sorry we can't do it in real time. Okay. Hobby time. Alex, what's on your table, buddy? What are you working on?
I am working on, let's see, this guy.
Oh, yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, I have Archaeon month, which is I post up like daily painting videos of just working through this thing. Been on a break for the last 3 days to get all this end time stuff out, but I've tried a black and white sort of door guard scheme because I wanted to do something a little bit different, but also clearly Archaeon. And I've done, don't know if you guys can see it, but like the basing is a chaos star with lava to sort of tie in with all the old Archaeons. So that's on my painting table.
Awesome. I love it. He is one of my obviously I have a big love of Archaeon, so he's still That's one of my more favorite models ever. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I may have a little conversion with Archaeon planned, and hopefully this year Santa's going to be nice to me and bring me a second Archaeon model. We'll see. We'll see. Fingers
That's
crossed.
a very nice Santa.
Absolutely. Well, I've been very good this year, hopefully. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up in the stocking. All right, Tommy, what do you got, buddy?
Yeah, you guys talking about that, it just made me realize, like, after I get this current like paint suite of like scheduled stuff done, it may be time to transition back and do my Nergal Archaeon conversion. Like, it may be time. Like, the time may be here.
You say that a lot.
I know. I'm thinking about it. Okay, anyway, sorry. What is on my current paint table? That's a great question. I am here, let me pull these up. I am doing Fire Slayers, and not just any Fire Slayers. I committed to the crazy freehand Fire Slayers that I had posted up, and so you can see some of these guys in progress. The ones
crazy.
Say what?
That is pretty crazy. The freehand, all the lava on their backs.
Yeah, it's like the ones in the back, the undershading's been done, the lava hasn't. And then you can see, here's an example of what it's going to look like when I'm done. On that, for this first unit of 30, all of the 30 have their patterns all done at this point. And I'm in the process of darkening the centers of each of the lava plates. And so I should be done with those probably today. So all the lava plates will be, all the freehand lava will be done by today, basically. By tonight is the hope. For the first unit, I'm planning on doing at least 2 of these units. So yeah, that's what I've been working on, and it's been exciting. It's actually went, so like, speaking of like, so I shared this, by the way, on the painting show yesterday, and Chris Peach was like, I'll bet that freehand took you a while. And I'm sitting there thinking it did, but actually, like, let me just, as an encouragement to all of you, it really didn't take a whole lot of time. Like, once you got started, it went very, very quickly. Like, I started this patterning last week, and I've done 30 models already.
Well, let's also talk for just a moment, because I want to say something real quick.
Yeah.
About freehand. It's sort of this thing that I think a lot of people are scared of. But it's important to note that there's a difference between, all freehand is not equal, and people should be less afraid of it. There's a difference between organic freehand and inorganic freehand. What I mean by that is trying to freehand like very discrete, specific, like technical lettering or an image of like a flying angel or something is more complicated than doing organic freehand of like demon patterns, like the demon dots or your lava pattern and stuff like that. Because this isn't to diminish your work. I just mean, like, you can be fun and loose with what you're doing, right? Like, if you go, you're not trying to get exact triangles or hard edges or shapes. If something goes a little squidgy, great, that's part of the design now. Like, it's the definition of sort of the Bob Ross, we don't make mistakes, there's just happy accidents, right? With it. So I agree. I encourage people, give it a shot, man, because your dudes look awesome, man. Like, that looks awesome. Bottom line.
Yeah, and organic patterns really are not difficult. Like, I was always terrified of them, and then I had started on my my Griffhound that had a similar pattern, and I was like, man, this is really not bad. And so I would encourage you all to take a single model and give it a try on something. Try an organic pattern, and I think you'll find that it's really not as difficult as it looks.
Yeah, and the advantage about natural patterns is that if you make a mistake, nobody's going to know because it's going to look like a natural pattern.
Right. It needs to be kind of random. Honestly, like, nature looks like it makes mistakes, right? Like, a tiger's stripes aren't like, completely exactly even in all the same length, like the spots on a leopard aren't on a grid pattern or whatever, right? They are random. They are natural. Yeah, I agree. By the way, very quickly to answer a question, Mickey asked what the names of all my cases are. The names of my cases are Victor, Mickey, Skeleton, Andrew, Kieran, Eric, and Tom. So there you go. That's the names of all my cases.
Wait,
I have 7 cases.
Your cases have names?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait, which one's named Tom? Like, I was just there. You didn't tell me what their names were.
Sure. Tom is the case where I store all of the things like that I don't want to work on. It's sort of all the where I store.
It's the
like,
one off your left hand side, like with all the Tomb Kings and the all of those models.
Right,
The one that
exactly.
didn't fit that you had like wedge that piece of paper in.
Right, it doesn't quite fit. Yes, exactly. It's going to fall over at any moment.
I mean, I was hoping that they were like IKEA cases, and you were going to try to pronounce a Swedish name.
Well, they are all IKEA cases. They really are, every one of them. Yeah, these are all from IKEA here. Let me turn. These are all from IKEA, including the one you can't see over here that Tom's referencing. But and yeah, nope. They have like umlauts and stuff. They have other symbols that my language does not contain. So I don't attempt
for only having English.
Right. I went to the store and pointed at the picture. That's how I did it. I would like this one.
Oh, I love it.
That's how you don't sound like an idiot. So there you go. I mean, I'm sure I still sound like a moron, but less like an idiot.
You don't say anything, just point to the pictures.
Right. Exactly. I'll carry a little dry erase board on my neck and be like, I'm sorry, I am mute written on it, and then just show them the pictures. That way I can really get out of the whole thing. There you go.
Pass out your here's my YouTube channel visit card.
Exactly. All right. For my own self, my hobby time. In the time that Tom did like those 30 models, I did this girl. So which I'm sure isn't showing up well, but this is my first Necromunda chick. I'm working on my second one. The first one took like 40 to 50 hours. So this is going to be a big project. That's what I figured out.
That's just dry brushing, right?
What's that?
That's just dry brushing, right?
All dry brushing. Very careful dry brushing. Absolutely. But I'm super happy with how she turned out. Like, it's not going to show, but they have like the little cyber arms. If you can see her right arm that's holding the sword is like the sort of cybernetic arm. And same with this one that's in progress. But I loved these chicks, and converting them was super fun. They are fun to paint, but boy, are they detailed. Like, oh my goodness, are they detailed. And I just wanted to do a bunch of fun things with them. So they all have like see-through stockings on, like see-through nylons and fun colors, and just, freehand as much as I could fit it in there. And everything's non-metallic metal. And just, this was a competition unit for next year. So you got to put in the work. So all in all, I'm very happy with them, or with the first one. 3.5 to go. So there you go. Moving right along.
And then you have decking. Then you have terrain you have to paint.
I do. Yeah, I have to. Tom was nice enough. Thank you, Tom. Tom was nice enough to help me out. He gave me some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I have it to make for a display
Vince
board.
Stole some of my terrain. I
did.
reluctantly gave it.
He did. He was like, "Are you sure?" And I had to like, just let go.
Are you sure you need this? Because this is like $30 in decking. It's so ridiculous.
So thank you, Tom. Much appreciated, sir. So that's what I'm working on. These girls are going to be on the table for a while. Although it's sort of like in the meantime, it's always good to have 2 projects, like, because especially when you're doing competition stuff like that much.
Yep.
So with just some of the extra bits that I had as I was playing with conversions on them, I actually put together this little guy, like a new little Skaven Arch Warlock out of the extra pieces and a Skaven thing. So I'm just gonna like prime him up and leave him sitting on my desk. So if it becomes like too much of just working on these girls constantly, I can just like get my little cyber rat painted up and good to go. I'm pretty excited about this little dude. I think he looks fun. He's got his little knife tail and his little gas mask face, the storm halberd in his claw. So there you go. Oh, Tom spilled something. You spilled wash, didn't you? Yep, he spilled wash.
Greg's Earthshade is his desk.
That's what just happened. Like I know that reaction. No. That is I just spilled wash at my table. And then the next competition project I'm going to work on is going to be just as big and ridiculous. But I did pick up the last piece I need for that this last weekend. So,
accelerant.
Oh, accelerant. Okay. Well, that evaporates quickly and it's only super toxic. So whatever. It's fine. It's no big deal.
We're good. It's all good here. We're fine.
And we're fine here. We're fine.
It's all fine.
Okay.
We're fine here. Fine. How about you?
How are you? All right. So let's talk about some BattleTome end times. So I want to start off, Alex, that you kind of set up what it is, but give us a little, if you have maybe an image or something you want to share, and kind of just talk about what it is and what led you to want to make it. Let's start there.
So let's share this, maybe.
Hey, there you go. Yeah.
All right. So BattleTome: The End Times is a remake of the original End Times campaign books to play in the Age of Sigmar. Like, if you have good memories of playing Warhammer Fantasy Battles, if you have good memories of reading the End Times, but you didn't have the armies, or if you just enjoy the old fluff but want to play with the new rules, this is something for you. So what you're looking at now is the cover page. Like, I've tried to keep it to like the Age of Sigmar style. So this is some fantastic art by Max Fitzgerald. He's done it specifically for this project. There's like, Archaeon, Nagash, and a little bit of Carl Franz in the background there. And I think it's gorgeous, and it really just tops off the entire project. So
it is stunning. That's the bottom line. Like that, it's so good.
Yeah, I am super pleased about how that turned out and how I've been able to use it. And there is so much about this project that I'm not entirely sure where to start.
Well, why don't we start here? Where did you start? What led you to want to do this? Let's start there. Because you have traveled a long road on this.
Yeah.
This project has been in the works since about September or October 2015.
Yep.
I was a huge fan of Warhammer Fantasy Battles. I still love that setting. So when I, like, as everyone does, you take a break, then you get back into the hobby. I got in right around when the End Times was starting. So when I started, the community was super vibrant. Everyone was like, oh, they're changing the setting. The Gash is back. Oh, this is awesome. And, things were just sort of blooming. And then as the thing went on, people started thinking, maybe this end time stuff is actually being serious. Maybe these round bases that we've been hearing, that's actually real. And then when we get to sort of Kane and Thanquol, when the consequences of the end times make themselves known with the fluff changes and all that, Warhammer Fantasy Battles in my community pretty much died. And when Age of Sigmar came out, everyone quit. They went over to other games, King's War, Ninth Age. They didn't want to play Age of Sigmar. And I thought that was a shame for two reasons. For one, I thought Age of Sigmar was really cool. And two, it meant that I never got to play the end time scenarios because I didn't collect armies, and no one in my community collected armies that were in those scenarios. I had ogres and lizardmen. Ogres got no scenarios, and lizardmen got two. And nobody in my community played Skaven, so none of them were available. Chaos players weren't really interested. We only had one Empire player, and he wasn't interested in narrative scenarios. And suddenly there's this whole giant set of events going on that I never got to play in, despite loving it, despite wanting to do so. So when Age of Sigmar came out, it was great for scenario play. It's still great. You are so much more flexible in how you can use units, how you can use scenarios than the old system is. You can actually have a dynamic set of models. or dynamic movement, dynamic, objectives. You can do all that sort of stuff. So I decided, I want to play the end times, so I have to rewrite all the scenarios myself. And it just started there. Like, I want to play this stuff, so I have to write it because nobody else is going to. So that started, a long process. I wrote it over a course of about 8 months. The first release was Nagash in like mid-January 2016. I was done maybe about like to the summer. I was done with like writing the main scenarios. And then since then, it's been about turning a gigantic 200-page, 50,000 word document into something that's actually interesting and fun to use. And that's taken the remaining time, really.
Right. It's such a rich story, and like, yes, I understand it's bittersweet, right? So like, I don't have any beef with people who might be sort of wishing that the ending went a different way, and I think we could all have a long discussion about that. But nonetheless, the story is what it is, and I think it's a really beautiful story with some fantastic moments in every book. Mm-hmm. You know, I did a narrative breakdown with Kieran and some others of the entire End Times book. Like, we went chapter by chapter and talked about the narrative and the stories and everything, right? So, I mean, I had to read the book like exhaustively so we could hit all the story beats, and we did over.
It's a great series.
Yeah, it was like 50 hours it took us to talk through the story, right? And so I really have a deep love of that story. And what I loved about it was there were characters in there that they actually made more real to me in that End Time story than they ever had been before, right? That I cared about sort of how they acted and what they did and the consequences of the choices they made. And I loved it when they would make bad choices in the story, right? Like, the End Times is full of people making some bad choices, and that's why I love it. One of the things I love about it. So bringing this to life, and I agree with you, letting you play this in the Age of Sigmar, I think is fantastic. So yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm very excited about it. I also think it's funny because I remember so many people tried to play through all the scenarios back in 8th, and I don't think anybody ever got out of book 1 because book 1 was so thick with had like so many scenarios in it, right?
There's 21 battle plans in book 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So yeah, it's so funny because right after this came out, like right after AOS came out, I was talking about like jump starting a channel, like back when I thought I might have time to, bandwidth to do my own channel. And one of the things that I talked about potentially doing was a series on like a battle reports of playing through the End Times using Age of Sigmar. And so Vince and I, like, we sat down and talked about this, and then like to the point of actually like me mapping out all the battle plans and what armies were involved, and making sure between us and our group that we had all of those armies covered, like just to make sure that if it could be done. And like we had Vince, you remember this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, and so like this is in a sense a dream come true because this is just even less work. Now we can just roll up and actually like just play the game rather than having to figure out what's appropriate.
Right.
Yeah, I've actually like considered doing that myself, like do battle reports of the entire thing.
Yep.
But I don't have the armies to do the entire thing. Like, I've got an undead army with Tomb Kings and regular undead, so I could do that part. Mm-hmm. But there's just like nearly every army is involved, and you'd need quite large and varied armies because they do all sorts of different stuff. And it would take, even if you did this once a week, it would literally take you a whole year to get through.
Right.
Because in total, there's 49 battle plans. So, like, you get 1 week off for Christmas and one for Easter or whatever. And the rest of the year, you're playing BattleTome the End Times.
Right. And then you have to produce all those videos.
Yeah. So, if someone wants to pay me, say, like, a full-time job or half-time job for this, please contact me. I am willing to do that.
Sounds like a Patreon to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I could cover everything. Like, I think I could cover everything except the I don't have any of the Elvish stuff. That's the challenge.
Yeah, nobody cares about the Elves. So,
like, I'm pretty sure we could, like, between Vince and I, and then like his community, like his group that's there, like we had everything covered.
Right.
Even some of the things that were like tangential, like the small stuff, like there was a bunch of Arachnaroks and spider stuff in one of the goblin encounters in Nagash, maybe with the dwarves. And I was like, oh, we got that covered. And so like even some of those niche fights, like we would actually be able to, like, I think we had everything. Yeah. But that takes a lot of time.
Yeah, you're talking about the spider encounter with Neferata. The
Yeah.
one where she meets up. Yeah.
Yep.
On the mountainside. Yes. I don't remember which book that was in, but
That's Nagash.
Is it Nagash? Okay.
Yep.
No, I will openly admit at this point, the individual battles have all sort of like most of that has bled together, right? Like I remember some of it. Like I remember the siege of the Black Pyramid be happening later, like the big ones I remember. Because I remember when like the reason I remember Siege of the Black Pyramid is because Ikit Claw shows off just how amazing he is. In that right there. Sneaks in, blows that thing, and he's like, I'm out. Just skitter leaps out of there, gives everybody the double guns, and leaves it. He's gone. I'm like, yes, that is some good work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Talking about that scenario, let's see if
let's take a look
here.
As you mentioned, there are 49 battle plans you've got in here.
Yeah, so we're going to be here all night covering every single one.
Here we go. Battle plan number 1.
No, but I just want to show this because you talked about it.
Yes.
It's quite different. So like here you have the overview. Every battle plan has like a small picture in some way, or most of them have too, like this one. Many of these are sent in by people from all around the world, and many of these I've taken and edited myself, like this one. But what I wanted to talk about with Siege of the Black Pyramid is actually it's divided into 2 battles,
right?
In a way that you couldn't do for the old Warhammer Fantasy battles. So there's the battle on the outside, which you can see sort of on the left 2/3 of the battlefield, and then you have the battle on the inside of the pyramid as well. So when you sort of set up this game, one side has to set up like an attacking force and the siege or the what have I called them here? The drill team, so to speak. Yep. And the other team has to set up obviously the defenders of the pyramid on the outside, and then a sanctum defense on the inside. So even though this is one battle on one table, you're playing 2 different sort of battles with 2 different objectives, just to sort of simulate the story better, really. So that's why there's so much text on this page, because it's just a really complex, but super, super interesting battle plan.
Yeah, and this was such a great battle in the story, and I love the way you've captured here, because exactly you had like Isabella leading the Nergal forces, right? At this time in the story, she's possessed by the sort of like exalted great or unclean one or whatever, right? And she's got the life touch that like kills undead instantly in the story. And so she's sieging the outside, and then inside you've got Ikit and the Skaven tunneling up in, right? And they go against like they meet like one of the named Ushabti in there, which I thought was really cool. Just like I love everything about this particular battle. This is one of the first battles where Nagash deploys the Morghast Arakai or whatever, like one of the 2 of them. This is one of the first battles.
He deploys them. He deploys. He's hidden them in the what's it called? Like there's just literally pools of death magic.
Yes,
so he's hidden them in here, and then he springs sort of the trap, or Archaeon springs the trap, and that's also a special rule for this scenario, that you can sort of hide units in there.
Nice,
and then spring trap.
That's awesome.
So yeah. So that's just one of the battle plans in this book. Most of them are not this complex. This is probably the most complex one, but all of them have tried to capture as much of the story and as much of the original scenario rules as possible. That was my sort of design. This is taking the original scenarios and turning them into Age of Sigmar as much as possible.
That's fantastic. I like I said, these are some of my favorite sort of stories and battles that have come out of them because they meant so much because of what was gained or lost. Like the world really changed because of these battles, right?
Yeah.
Like that is the reality of all of this. And like most of the characters that I truly loved died right throughout the course of this battle. Like that's but some of them died well. In fact, I would say the greatest death in the history of Warhammer happens in this particular storyline with the death of Vlad. Like, I don't know that there's a better narrative moment ever, period, than how Vlad ends his life.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
It's good stuff. There's some really great stories. But I don't know. What we can do here is we can like go through a battle, a tome, like not line for line, but just like see what like when you open this, what will a battle tome look like?
Sure.
Well, I know I'm partial.
Yeah, I figured since we're on a particular show, we'll show off a particular tome. So this is,
there it is,
the cover of the Glotkin tome. So like that's literally just one of 5 tomes. So the structure is like you have the whole battle tome, the End Times, which is sort of a wrapper, and then inside that you have 5 battle tomes, each with their own like each following the original books.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the cover for BattleTome, the End Times Glotkin, using a model you're probably familiar with.
I spent a lot of time on that model, so yes, I am indeed. So I'm honored to be able to submit that and have it included in the project.
To be honest, I'm just really glad someone wanted to submit a Glotkin model. Some of these models have been very, very hard to track down, and I was not expecting the Glotkin to be one of them. But yeah, well, it's a fantastic model, and it looks so good on this cover. It really brings the cover up. So that's sort of that's the front.
Okay.
And then let's pull out. There we go. And share different application. So then you get to what's inside, like what's the content here. So there's every BattleTome has a small like index just to show you what's what. And everyone has obviously a small like, credit section. I could credit so many people, like there are more than 50 people have in some way contributed to this, and so many have sent me pictures and other content. It's really incredible. So in every tome, I've tried to credit everyone who's sent pictures for that particular tome. So get to see a certain name right here. But yeah, there's just a lot of names. And in every tome, originally, there were like rules for the setting. And in Age of Sigmar, we have that in the time of war. So part of the goal was to recreate all of those into something that was really fun and interesting. So this one is, for all of you Chaos fans out there, this is a God Ascendant. So during the End Times, obviously, the power of the Chaos Gods was like waxing, and they were really getting more powerful. So this sort of tries to capture that in a fun and interesting way, in the sense that it powers up whichever god is now ascendant. Like at the start of the game, you roll a dice, and one of the gods becomes ascendant for that turn or for that game, and it might not even be your god if you're using this in a regular game. So you get the Storm of Chaos rule, which is essentially it means that you can miscast, and if you're a Chaos Wizard, you will summon demons if you roll a double when you cast stuff. Like you will just straight up summon demons.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
So this is obviously not matched play friendly, but it's just a lot of fun because you feel like chaos is on the rise because suddenly you throw out 2 spells a turn, you roll 2 doubles, and suddenly you have a bunch of extra demons on the table running around causing havoc. You also get like the bonuses you get are a bit generic and a bit like specific. So like if Khorne is ascendant, you add 1 to hit rolls for all Khorne models. So if you're playing Khorne versus Khorne, there's a lot more stuff dying.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's a buff for like all chaos, add 1 to run and charge. And then all wizards suffer a -1 to their casting and unbinding rolls. So if you're playing Tzeentch and you roll Khorne Ascendant, you're gonna have a bad time. And then there's also a special like spell to summon more demons because what would a storm of chaos be without more demons?
That's awesome.
That's great stuff.
There's also a slightly more complex one because Glotkin, the BattleTome, is a lot about city fighting. It's about Nergal really unleashing his garden into the Empire.
Yeah, can I just real quick hit on one moment in the Battle of Marienburg that is my favorite? Do you mind if I mention it real fast?
Do it.
So Marienburg had a sort of vampire that was infiltrating the city, right? And he was very upset at Nergal attacking, so he kind of led the Marienburgers out to defend against the Nergal onslaught. And when Glotkin comes ashore or whatever, comes into the battlefield, Glotkin and like the vampire's just cutting his way through the Nergal stuff because he's, vampires are very potent, right? And Glotkin rolls up and just picks him up and throws him like 2 miles out into the ocean. That's how they deal with that guy. The big brother Glot just literally throws him way out into the sea and is like, well, problem solved. Moving on.
Oh, that's fantastic. I hadn't seen your final image, by the way, for the Battle of Marienburg.
Yeah, that's
the finished one.
Find a better resolution version.
Oh, that's sweet.
Somewhere I should probably have just used the PDF. Now that I think about it, because this is InDesign, so it's sort of it compresses the picture quality so that you can actually use it.
Yeah, manipulate it. Yep.
So let's see here. I will move. Come on. Here we go. And move over to. Right, it doesn't want to open. See, I've not used.
You're okay. No big deal.
Hangouts.
No big deal.
Well, I want to show these things off because they do look really, really.
That's okay too.
So let's see. Is that? Yeah, that's.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, working fine.
Yeah.
So this is the PDF. So this is what you guys are going to get if you download this. This is what it's going to look like. So I wanted it also to sort of look like you just ripped a book. So you got like the front page on one, and then you got the inside on like a double spread.
Yeah.
Because it also makes reading battle plans a lot easier.
Right.
So let's see if we can zoom here. See if we get any quality. Well, not a lot of quality, but you can sort of see that I got the original picture here, and then I've edited in so that it sort of looks like Marienburg, sort of. So there's
fantastic.
Just to make the book feel more like a real book, make it give you that sense of time and place, and that you're reading something that's, meaningful,
right?
Fun. So yeah. So here's another Time of War rule. It's a lot more complicated. This is Street of Death, and as I was sort of talking, the Glotkin book is a lot about city fighting and street fighting. So here you have like special rules for being the attacker or the defender, for buildings, for what you can sort of bonuses you can get from being in the buildings, ambushes, barricades, even sewers. and also setting buildings on fire, so that you can sort of, if you have a lot of city terrain, you can build, like, you can have a building and you can have a city table, and it will act sort of like a city.
Fantastic. My destroying terrain and lighting buildings on fire. I am a huge proponent of this. Absolutely. Now we're talking my language.
So it's so I've tried to make this stuff all as easy to use and as functional with like regular Age of Sigmar rules as possible. And I feel I've done a pretty good job. It plays pretty okay. It's very different though.
Sure.
Very, very different.
I mean, you know what you're in for when you do this. It's like you said, you're not lining up for a match play game here. You're lining up to experience this narrative, right? And if you're on sort of the quote unquote losing side, i.e. who actually lost in the battle, all the more meaningful if you manage to win, right? Like that to me, I love it. I love playing through stuff like this.
Yeah, exactly. So getting into sort of the battle plans and what they look like, they all share this sort of 2-page structure. So you have like some story stuff here, just like the first part's always like, what is the story that you are fighting? And then the next part is like, how could you use this in a different game of Age of Sigmar? Like, how could you use this to talk about like your Stormcast or your Fire Slayers or whatever? Because even though this is an end times thing and a Warhammer Fantasy Battles thing and an old world story tome, it isn't designed around the factions. Like, you don't have to have Nergal to play this. It'll just act slightly more realistic if you have them. So you have the objectives, you have usually you have some special command abilities, you generate, you have the battlefield, and then every scenario has its own rules in some way or form. Different setup, different, where it says that you use Streets of Death, you use Chaos Ascendant in this battle plan. And then you have like some of the special rules and special victory conditions. Every battle plan has its own victory conditions. And I don't think it's ever just kill the most of your opponent. It's always some sort of story-based mission. And then just a nice little like deployment map just to help you out. The deployment maps aren't very pretty, but they are kind of functional at least. So that's how like all of them look. I no need to go through every single one, but there's just some incredible pictures here. Like, I love this picture of the spiders.
Yeah. Are those Paul's?
Yeah, those are.
Probably. Yeah. There's
right.
The list is like, yeah. So again, we're zooming in, so it doesn't look as pretty, but
I'm pretty sure that's Paul because I recognize the big tree.
Yeah, the legs. I recognize the ones where he's extended the legs on him. Yeah, those are Paul's.
Yeah, and then we've got like just a great little Gutrot Spew model.
Absolutely, looks good.
And then we got some model from Chris Tomlin.
Oh, nice.
So this is the Battle of Talabheim, which is in the story is pretty disgusting in a lot of ways. For those of you who don't know, Talabheim was a city in a crater, so it was like built into the crater with natural fortifications. And then in the story, they literally flooded the entire crater with Nergal pus. That's the fall. And then the battle is when everyone's fleeing this pus rainstorm and then get ambushed by the army outside.
Right.
Ugh.
So to represent that, here's like one of the many pictures that I've taken, just to sort of like take in, use terrain, try to make it feel like whatever battle it is. And I'm super lucky. I actually got to borrow a gigantic Empire army from someone here in Norway. Very, very lucky. And so if you see Empire models, they're very probably from that collection. And it just allowed me to like make all sorts of pictures. But here's another one that, here's the Fall of Altdorf. So we have, again, another lovely special character picture.
Yep.
Like, I've always had the focus of trying to get as many of the special characters into the book as possible. You know, this is a story about the characters and the heroes and the villains. So trying to get them has been the number one priority. And I've been super lucky. And here we get, and also getting like old models.
The pressing chaos hordes.
Yep. So that was sort of trying to capture that. Nice old school hell cannon as well.
Always that's a pretty hell cannon.
Yeah. And then we have like the Battle of the Temple. So we have Luankor.
Yep.
Whatever he's actually pronounced as. Also not an easy model to get on round bases.
No, there are very few of him around, period. So
yeah,
that was one of the requirements, was everything had to be on rounds.
Yeah, this is an Age of Sigmar tome, so everything is on rounds.
Right.
Yep.
So here's actually one of my favorite like visual battle plans, or the models in them. Got this great looking Great Unclean one. Just really, really nice colors.
Hideous, but great.
Yeah. It's disgusting.
That's horrifying.
And then we have like this little picture here, which I'm pretty pleased about, is like the composition of. For those of you who don't know, in this battle, the undead are trying to defend the Emperor, like trying to defend Karl Franz from the Glotkin. So I try to represent that by having like the undead and Vlad in the center here, standing in front of Imperial Knights and Karl Franz in the background, just trying to get that story into the pictures in the BattleTome as much as possible.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
So obviously it's not like Games Workshop quality, but I feel like I try to, as much as possible, capture the moment.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, to be fair, you also don't have their armies that they have just at their disposal, just sitting around in cases. So you know.
Yeah.
You can't just wheel them down from the from the
museum,
or the museum.
Fly over and steal them. So one of the last things in each tome is there's a campaign as well.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to have you talk about this, because obviously there's all the battle plans, but then we touched on the times of war. But yes, I wanted to definitely have you talk about the mighty battles, like sort of the campaign arcs you've got built in here as well.
Yeah, so for those of you who remember the Thankwall BattleTome, there's a campaign system in there. Is it called something? And this is a translation of that. It's not 100% identical, but it has a lot of the same rules and structure. And what I really liked about that campaign system is that it's for 2 players and it's short. I think we all have experience about long, multi-person campaigns that don't actually, go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to work against your own instincts, right? Because you want to do that long, sweeping, epic campaign. The problem is, then you just don't finish it.
Yeah,
right.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Like, people have lives, people have obligations. People might not have the time to finish that, 6-month, 10-person campaign. And all that enthusiasm that you have in the first 2 or 3 months, it sort of peters out in the end, which is, I think it's a shame, but it's also a reality of the situation. So what Mighty Battles is about is sort of trying to counter that with very, very short campaigns. Like, this is a full campaign for 2 people. It starts with a battle, then it's either one or the other, and then there's a finale, and then you're done. It's 3 or 4 battles for a campaign. It's very much designed so that if you have like a Sunday off, or you have a weekly club night, or you can maybe get maybe 2 games in a month, you'll still be able to finish a campaign like this, because it's very, very simple, but it's also very narrative. So what makes this sort of interesting, at least the way I've sort of designed it, is that let's see if we can get up the actual Mighty Battles rules here. There we go. So, not doing any zoom, but you have the first 2 pages of the rules here, and the rules are just these 2 pages. That's what the rules are.
We're still locked on the Tentacle Lord's Conquest right now.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Why? Oh,
I
it's
don't know.
open in the wrong program. Yeah. All right. Let's see.
Well, there we go. Now something's changing.
There we go.
There you go.
All right. So, the rules themselves are these 3 pages.
Sorry about that.
So it's not complicated. It's not difficult to learn. Then everything outside of this is the campaign itself. And the core idea is that you have, you build your armies according to whatever rule set you want to do. You don't have to use points if you don't care about points. You don't have to use, any sort of restriction. You just build them however you want to do it. But of course, using points is usually easier. Then you have your general, who usually has to be the same throughout every battle. He has what's called a strategic characteristic, which is either guile, persuasion, or planning. And then you have a certain amount of points. You have 10 points that you have to split between each of these characteristics. So you you can't max out. You can't have a general who's great at planning, great at guile, and great at persuasion. You have to pick and choose. So you have that super light RPG element to it. And then what those characteristics allow you to do is choose stratagems. So each sort of characteristic has certain stratagems that gives you different sort of bonuses. Like if we look at the guile ones, like level 1, you can do D3 mortal wounds to any one of your models, any one of your opponent's models. But if you go to level 5, you get to choose, essentially. You get to know who gets the next initiative roll. So if you're really good at guile, you can do some really sneaky stuff. And same thing for the other abilities. Like at level 1, you can get a free movement phase. But at level 5, you can blow up 3 terrain pieces. So there's all sorts of different things here that you can put into your campaign, and it's all meant to be easy to use. There's nothing here that takes tons of turns or requires you to memorize a lot of stuff.
That's fantastic.
I think maybe my favorite's the persuasion stuff. The first one's just kind of fun. You get to choose, or you get to roll on mysterious terrain and then keep that secret from your enemy. So that he doesn't know what the terrain does until he goes into it.
Yeah.
And then at the top level is, or at these top 2 ones, is that you can force your enemy to not attack in the combat phase, or you can force him to not do anything for the rest of the turn.
Awesome. Yeah.
And it's just
a little Bellicor style ability there.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's game changing, but not in remove a unit game changing. It's you have to play for this.
That's
that's the goal the entire way. You have to play for what you're doing. So that's sort of that's the idea, that you follow this tree. You play the battles, you follow the tree down, and then you use your strategic characteristics and your stratagems to sort of give it that extra narrative element. And for those of you who like making your own campaigns, I've also added a complete make your own campaign guide with an example campaign, which is Stormcast versus Chaos.
Nice.
Just so that, you know, it's not difficult to be a Neo. It's not difficult to be a narrative player. Here's a recipe. Try it out yourself. You know, just I want this to be as easy to use for as many people as possible.
I dig it.
So
as we're getting on to the end of our time here, but I want to make sure I give you a chance. Any what final things do you want to share with people about it? You know, just sort of like, what are you most proud of? I think is what I'd want to close out with.
In general, what I'm most proud of is probably just the visual aspect of this. That it looks and feels like a actual, like it feels like a sort of real BattleTome. You know, you have a front cover that feels cool, that it has great models. You run through it, it feels like it's something that you would buy. Like, obviously it's not as good as Games Workshop's official stuff, but this isn't that Word document that I released a year and a half ago. I just really love how this thing feels when you're using it. You know, it comes across, at least I think it comes across as something that shows how great this community is by having all of these amazing community pictures and community models. And then brings it back to a story that I love and the game that I love, because I love playing Age of Sigmar and I love the old world story. So I feel so great about how it ties all of that together into one good-looking and well-playing package.
It is the chocolate and peanut butter, two great tastes that go great together. Yes, absolutely. Well, right on, man. It's an amazing accomplishment. I think it's absolutely fantastic. You deserve an immense amount of accolades and congratulations for putting this together. I certainly know how difficult it is to put something like this together, as I've done it myself a few times. And my goodness, man, this is just incredible. And the amount of people you reached out to, the involvement of the community, the completeness of what you created here is to be lauded. This is everything that I think is great about our community writ large, quite literally, into a PDF. So I can't thank you enough for doing this. And I think that what everybody else could do is spread the word, go and download this, play some games, have a good time with it. I think that is the best congratulations you can give. So there you go.
Yeah, thank you. Just also want to say, like, thank you to the community. This wouldn't exist if you guys weren't like willing and incredibly able to help me. I've reached out to a lot of places. Getting elf models on rounds, not very easy, but I got them. People painted new models for me. They rebased their old stuff. They got out and borrowed cameras, took great pictures, went to the friends to make dynamic battle scenes. People have done so much to help make this into what it is, and I am so grateful for that.
Very awesome. Well, Alex, thank you very, very much, sir, for all of your work on this, for coming on the show. It is fantastic. I can't wait to dive into it. I've got a couple battles that I know. I am not going to fool myself into thinking I'm going to do all of these or do them in order, but I know a couple that I want to start with for sure. So I am very much looking forward to it. So thank you again, sir. Very much appreciated. By the by, little late breaking news that happened. I got a little message from an unnamed source during this that at the beginning of January, we're going to see some kind of Deathcast type of thing based around a Lord Relictor or Lord Relictors, that it will happen very early on in January. So,
oh really?
That's the
hot news.
That's the hot breaking news. So we'll see if that turns out to be true. This is all rumor and should be taken with a massive, giant salt lick sized grain of salt, but focused around a Lord Relictor and some kind of Deathcast, like very early in January. So there you go. So we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? He
Let's
does
hope
have a skull head.
Let's hope it's just more gas, more gas. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, it won't be long now. Only a couple weeks, and we'll know whether that's true or not. So we'll find out. I will say this, if the first death-oriented release is just like some
This
death
Stormcast.
Stormcast, and they don't actually show the other death stuff coming, there will be a riot in the streets.
It will be amazing. It will be, the nerd outrage will just take the internet by storm.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any rioting in the streets because we'd have to go outside for that. But
That's true.
there'd be angry posts on Twitter.
There you go. Yes. Digital rioting in the digital streets. Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So we'll see. Time will tell. This is all just rumor and speculation at this point. But there we go. All right. So Alex, thank you again, sir. We'd love to have you back anytime, whether talking about this or many other things as this all progresses. For all of you out there who are watching, thank you as always. We greatly appreciate you. And of course, we'll see you next Wednesday.